Yeah. Turn the other way. Guys.
Viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's lesson. Today we shall consider percentage changes. And by the end of the lesson, the viewer should be able to estimate the percentage increase in a quantity. The viewer should also be able to estimate the percentage decrease in a quantity. Now, as I said, when we talk about change, a change in something, it means that you already know an initial point and there has been a shift in the form of an increase or a decrease to another point, a new point. So for instance, let's say you had a score of 70 in mathematics last term, and this term your score in mathematics has increased to 80. So we can calculate the change that has occurred by looking at the difference between 80 and 70. So that is what we call a change. Now with that change, you can express it in percentage terms. And when you do that, we call it percentage change. And this is very important for measuring progress. Maybe you started rearing sheep, and over time there has been an increase in the number of the sheep, or there has been a decrease. You want to be able to measure your performance, to measure your progress. So you can use percentage changes to say, in the next year, or over the past 1 year, or over the past 2 years, the number of sheep has increased by a certain percentage. That is the relevance, that is the importance of percentage change. So to find percentage change, you first have to know the change, as I said, which can be an increase or a decrease. You take the change in that quantity, then you divide by the original quantity or the initial quantity, then you multiply by 100. This is the formula you use, or we have to use, to calculate percentage change. Now the change mathematically can be formulated as current quantity minus initial quantity, and the sign will tell us whether it is an increase or a decrease. For instance, if there has been an increase from 10 to 50, when you take 50 minus 10, you get 40. The change there is positive, so that gives us an increase. But if you have 50, you are starting from 50 and there's a decline in the number up to 30, from 50 to 30. When you strike the difference between the current value, which is 30, and the previous value, which is 50, you are going to have 30 minus 50, which gives us negative 20. So the sign of the change will tell us whether there's an increase or there's a decrease. So first of all, let's look at how to estimate a percentage increase. So in case there's a change and that change is positive, in other words, it shows an increase in a quantity, how do you express that increase as a percentage? That is what we call percentage increase. So we take an example. The number of pupils in Lakadu Preparatory increased from 30 in 2019 to 75 in 2020. Find the percentage increase in the number of pupils. So in the year 2019, the school had 30 pupils. And in 2020, the number increased to 75. The question is, find the percentage increase in the number of pupils. So I've already indicated that two numbers are provided. one occurred previously and one occurred later. So you will have to take the two numbers, take the one that occurred later, which is the new quantity or which is the new number, minus the old quantity or the old number. In this case, we are talking about 75 minus 30. So the change involved in this mathematical problem is 75 minus 30, which is equal to 45. They didn't just ask us to find the change. They said we should find the percentage increase. And we realized that after finding the difference between 75 and 30, we end up with a positive change, which shows an increase. So we now take that 45 and divide it by the original quantity. So the change or the increase that has taken place, which is 45, divided by 75. Then you multiply by 100. That will give us the percentage increase in the original quantity. So mathematically, you realize that 45 divided by 75 is a fraction. And in our earlier lessons, we looked at how to multiply a fraction by a whole number. So 45 over 75 times 100. You take the 100 and multiply by the numerator. So that gives us 45 times 100 divided by 75. You realize that 45 and 75, there's a common factor between the two terms, which is 5. 5 goes into 45 9 times, and it goes into 75 15 times. So we can reduce the expression to 9 times 100 divided by 15. Again, we realize that there's a common factor between 9 and 15, which is 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times and goes into 15 5 times. So you end up with 3 times 100 divided by 5. So all I'm doing is I'm trying to reduce the expression to its simplest form. So you end up with 3 times 20 because 5 goes into 100 20 times. So when you multiply 3 by 20, you end up with 60%. So this answers the question. It means that, or the interpretation is that the percentage increase is 60%. In other words, the quantity has increased by 60% between 2019 and 2020. So that is how to deal with such a problem. So we move on and we look at the second example, which goes this way. The cost of a car was 5,000 Ghana cedis in 2001. In 2017, the cost of the same car was 7,500 Ghana cedis. Find the percentage change. In this case, the question has not clarified as to whether you should find percentage increase or percentage decrease. So you would have to deduce that based on the initial quantity and the current quantity. So what we do is to first find the change, which is always captured as new subtract old or new minus old. The new price of the car is 7,500. So it is 7,500 minus the old price, which is 5,000. So we end up with a value that is 2,500. So the difference between the new price and the old price is 2,500. And as we can all see, the sign is positive. It is a positive change. In this case, we are talking about percentage increase. So to find percentage change, in this case, percentage increase, you take the change that has occurred, the change in the two prices. Then you divide by the original price. If you divide by the original price, So we are talking about 2,500 divided by 5,000. So when you do that, you get it in fraction form. To change it to percentage, multiply by 100. So you end up with 2,500 times 100 divided by 500. We all know 2005 goes into 5,000 two times. So it reduces to 100 divided by 2. You end up with 50%. So the percentage increase in this regard is 50%. It means the price has increased by 50%. That's exactly the case. So we move on to percentage decrease. It follows the same order. You also strike the difference between the first quantity and the second quantity, but you only use percentage decrease when the margin of change is in the negative. So for instance, we have example 1. The total number of students in Ajiringono Junior High School was 2,000 in 2018. Out of the total number, 200 students requested transfer to other schools in 2020. So the number was 2,000 in 2018, and in 2020, about 200 of them requested transfer. So the first question is, what is the current number of pupils in the school? So if you have 2,000 and now 200 people have requested transfer and they have gone to other schools, it means the number has reduced by 200. So you take 2,000 minus 200. That will give us the current number of pupils in the school. And when you strike the difference, you end up with 1,800 pupils. So that is the current number of pupils. Now the second question says, find the percentage decrease in the number of students. So already we knew the old number, which is 2,000 students. Now after 200 people have moved to other schools, the number reduces to 1,800 pupils. So you are looking at 1,800 minus 2,000. That will give us the change that has taken place over the period. You end up with negative 200. So you see the sign of the change is negative. The margin of change is in the negative. This falls under percentage decrease. So following from our previous examples and the percentage decrease, you take that change, which is 200, ignore the negative. The negative only tells you you are dealing with percentage decrease. So you go ahead and take 200 divided by the original value. The original value in this case is 2,000. So if you divide 200 by 2,000, it gives you a fraction. You change the fraction to percentage by multiplying it by 100. So you end up with 200. You are multiplying a fraction by a whole number. So you take the whole number and multiply by the numerator, which gives us 200 by 100 divided by 2,000. So you see there are 4 zeros at the top and 3 zeros at the bottom. So you'll be left with only 1 zero at the top. So the 2 zeros, the 100 carries 2 zeros. The 2 zeros will go with 2 zeros of the 2,000. Then the remaining one will go with one of the zeros the 200 carries. So you are left with 20 times 1, which is 20. So the numerator becomes 20, the denominator becomes 2. When you divide, you get 10%, meaning the percentage decrease there is 10%. Now, we move to the next one, which says the population of Yipala was 10,000 in 2008. By 2012, 3,000 more births had been recorded, while 1,000 deaths were recorded. Find the total population of Yipala in 2012. So in 2018, we had a population of 10,000. And by 2012, in 2008, the population was 10,000. And by 2012, 3,000 more births were recorded or had been recorded, while 1,000 deaths were recorded. You should find the new population, the total population. So death is a subtraction. When people die, they are no longer with us. Births are an addition. When they give birth, they add to the population. So you add 3,000 to the original number and you subtract 1,000. So you end up with 10,000 minus 3,000 plus 3,000 minus 1,000. That gives us 12,000. So the population, the new population is 12,000. So if you compare that with the old population, you see there's an increase. That's why the next question says, find the percentage increase or decrease in the population of Impala. So once we know the margin of change, which is 2,000, by taking the current one, which is 12,000 minus the previous, which is 10,000, you get 2,000 people or 2,000 persons in the community. So take 2,000, divide by 10,000, multiply by 100. If you reduce it, like we have done in the previous cases, you end up with 20%, meaning the population has increased by about 20%. So viewers, we have realized that you can always estimate a change in quantity, be it speed, the speed that a car covers within a certain time, or a race. If it is a race that is running 100 meters race now and later, you can compare the number of minutes you have used, whether you were faster in the first or faster in the second. You can always track the difference and see how fast you were, the progress you made. If you are a farmer, you would want to see if this year you made 100 bags of maize, you produced 100 bags of maize, and the following year the number of bags reduced to 80. You see you have retrogressed. You want to estimate the margin of retrogression. You strike the difference, which is the change, then you divide by the original value and multiply by 100. That will give you the percentage decrease. So these are very practical things that can help us in our daily lives, and we should try to apply them as much as possible. This brings us to the end of the lesson. See you in our next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.